One of the things I look forward to every year is whether the major companies I write about are prepared to showcase their upcoming products in advance, because the year starts with the annual CES trade show. This is the perfect place. A company that's able to present its 12-month portfolio comes across as confident in its ability to deliver, and it also gets the rest of us salivating at the prospect of next-generation hardware. This time around, AMD steps up to the plate to talk about its new V-Cache CPU coming soon, and its new Zen 4 platform coming in the second half of the year. Now with V-Cache. One sole CPU, Ryzen 7 5800X 3D. Every CPU has levels of internal memory, known as cache, which starts as a bank of level 1 fast but small memory, rising up to a level 2 medium-sized medium-speed memory, and then a level 3 larger-sized slower memory. Beyond this, there's the main DDR memory, which is super big, but super slow in comparison. Main memory is 100x slower to access, but can hold a lot more data. Last year, AMD announced that it had been working on stacked onboard memory in the form of cache. This V-Cache concept took one of the standard 8-core chiplets from the Ryzen 5000 series, which already had 32 MB of L3 cache, and stacked on top of it another 64 MB of L3 cache, giving a total of 96 MB. Stacking chips is difficult, and AMD has been working with TSMC to productize this advanced packaging technique. The main 8-core chiplet, built on TSMC 7nm, measures 82 mm2. This extra stacked chiplet is only 36 mm2, and sits directly above the cache already on the chip, so it does not cover the cores. The extra 64 MB of L3 cache chiplet is manufactured on a version of TSMC 7nm that is optimized for cache density, and so AMD has placed 64 MB on top of 32 MB directly. The cores are not covered for thermal reasons. The cores are where the power is used, and so thermal spaces are placed on top to make the top of the combined chip fully flat. AMD stated last year that it would be manufacturing consumer and enterprise versions of this increased cache in 2021 for launch in 2022. At the data center event last year in November, AMD announced the version that would go into servers, and called it Milan X. For consumers, AMD is announcing today what this increased cache version of Ryzen looks like. Introducing the Ryzen 7 5800X 3D. AMD is only going to launch a single Ryzen version of its V-Cache technology, using the Ryzen 7 5800X as a base. This means the chip is 8 cores, 16 threads, and 105 WTDP, just like the regular R7 5800X, but with 96 MB of L3 cache now rather than 32 MB. It will run at 3.4 GHz base, 4.5 GHz boost, be overclockable, and work in AMD 400 series and 500 series motherboards. AMD Ryzen 5000 series processors for desktop. Zen 3 microarchitecture, non-pro, 65W+, on-and-tech core, / thread base. Frequency 1T. Frequency L3. $IGP, PCE, TDP, SCP Ryzen 95950X1632 3400 4964 MB 4.0 105W $799 Ryzen 95900X 1224 3700 4864 MB 4.0 105W $549 Ryzen 9 5900 1224 4764 MB 4.065W OEM Ryzen 7 5800X 3D 816 3400 4596 MB 4.0 105W Ryzen 7 5800X 816 3800 4732 MB 4.0 105W $449 Ryzen 7 5800 816 3400 4632 MB 4.065W OEM Ryzen 7 5700 G816 3800 4616 MB Vega 8 3.065W $359 Ryzen 5 5600X 6 12 3700 4632 MB 4.065W $299 Ryzen 5 5600G 612 3900 4416 MB Vega 7 3.065W $259 Ryzen 3 5300G 484,000 4208 MB Vega 6 3.065W OEM. The processor will launch in the spring, March/April we think, and exact pricing is yet to be announced. For those that have been following AMD's Vcache news over this past year, I bet you have exactly the same questions I did when AMD first briefed us on this announcement. Here is a summary of the questions I asked, and my interpretations of the responses. Why only Ryzen 7, not Ryzen 5/Ryzen 9? Because this is a new project for AMD, they want to find out how a processor like this will be welcomed into the market. A lot of users, myself included, expected AMD to go all in with a big 16-core version, however anything Ryzen 9 requires 2 chiplets, and adding the extra Vcache does require an extra cost in silicon and packaging. During a semiconductor shortage, I was told that this is the best way to get it into the hands of many people while also not in the super high cost bracket. It also means one single unified 96 MB of L3 cache, without having to deal with 2 chiplets worth, which might not be optimized immediately. Future versions of Vcache on next-generation products may be expanded to other Ryzen members of the family. The frequencies are lower than the regular 5800X. The cache does add a few watts to the power, both in terms of idle and load. Rather than bend a stricter chiplet, the decision was made to reduce the frequency a little, but still allow overclocking. The chip, while listed at 105W, still has the 142W package power tracking for motherboards that support it. Who is this chip for? The focus is on users playing video games over anything else. The extra cache is meant to help with communications with discrete graphics cards, offering additional performance above the regular R7 5800X. Productivity workloads are less likely to be affected, and for those users the regular Ryzen CPUs are expected to be better. The Ryzen 7 5800X 3D is designed to be the world's fastest gaming processor, when compared to the 5900X and 12900K. In terms of those performance metrics, AMD is quoting from 1.0x to 1.4x at 1080p high versus Ryzen 9 5900X plus RTX 3080, 15% average. From 0.98x to 1.2x at 1080p high versus Core i9-12900K, DDR5, plus RTX 3080. Both systems were running Windows 11. The critical element here I think is going to be the price. As I'm writing this piece, I can find the following prices. Ryzen 5 5600G, 6C/12T $240. Ryzen 5 5600X, 6C/12T $290. Core i5-12600K, 6P plus 4E $300. Ryzen 7 5700G, 8C/16T $340. Ryzen 7 5800X, 8C/16T $369. Core i7-12700KF, 8P plus 4E $390. Ryzen 9 5900X, 12C/24T $540. Core i9-12900KF, 8P plus 8E $590. Ryzen 9 5950X, 16C/32T $730. Even though AMD is promoting the Ryzen 7 5800X 3D to be higher performance than the 5900X in gaming, if it goes anywhere north of $500, it might be badly received. At $500, it would be a plus $130 add-on from the regular Ryzen 7 5800X. Are users willing to pay almost 30% more for triple the L3 cache for up to 15% more performance in gaming? Or is this just simply a play for the world's fastest gaming processor, regardless of cost? Don't get me wrong here, I think the technology is great. But in order for AMD to keep the same margins, it might be more expensive than people think. I'm looking forward to getting it in hand for review. Let us know what sort of tests you want to see. Coming 2H 2022, Zen 4 on 5nm, with AM5, DDR5, and PCIe 5.0. Perhaps not that surprising given all the information from last year. AMD has confirmed that Zen 4-based Ryzen CPUs coming in 2022 will be built on TSMC's 5nm process. We assume